Hi, I'm Angie, owner of The Mindful Mane, and today we're going to be learning how to take your mini foil A and turn it into your partial. So I already have my mannequin sectioned out. She's already got her mini foil in. So this is everything that's behind the ear. This is everything that is in front of the ear. And this little bit at the top is what we did not do because her mini foil was just these foils in the front. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick this side to start on. So for right now, we're still going to be working with everything that's living in the front. So here's the end of our mini foil. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go from here and I'm just going to start going at a diagonal into her part line, and I'll show you what I mean. So I'm just going to take this section behind her foil and I'm going to diagonal slice, diagonal back section. Do that. So this is what it looks like. This is her part right here. And I'm going all the way up to her part and I'm taking a diagonal back section right behind where I stopped on my mini foil in the front. So I'm going to take that section. We're going to weave it out. The most important part is to make sure that you get all the way to her part, because that's what she's going to see. So if this section were too wide, I would drop out what's down here to make sure that I could put my foil all the way up to her part. So I'm going to go in with my foil. And again, I'm going right up to her part. Her part's right there. My board is all the way up to her part, because she's going to see what falls on either side of her part. Today, I'm just using conditioner because we're not so much worried about, saturation or things like that. We've already gone over that. Right now, it's just placement. And we're going to lock that in. So that's what we're left with. We've just added a foil right back here, diagonal back, right up to her part. Her head is small, so I obviously won't be taking as many foils. So we're going to take another diagonal back section right behind that one. So here's my section. Here's the foil that I just did. Right here, we've already got a nice clean line. So we're just going to take another diagonal back section. And I'm only going to like that division between her front and back. I'm only working in this front bit. So we're going to take this one. And we're going to weave this out. So here's her part up here. I want to make sure that my foil gets to her part. Yeah. You're just going to put some conditioner on just to show you the placement. And we're going to lock that. Just like that. Now I'm actually going to spin her around and I'm going to do the other side. I like to kind of go back and forth so I know I'm staying even. So we're going to take this one out. Same thing here. I'm going right off her part. We're taking a diagonal back section right behind those foils. This is her part. I'm going to weave that out. We'll put on our product. Always starting in the center, crisscrossing to make sure you saturate all the way through. Walk it up to the top of the board. And then get your ends if you're taking it all the way through. Okay, I'm going to do one more behind that. So we're going to do the same thing. We're starting at our part and we're going to take that diagonal back. We're staying in nice, clean sections. Leave that out. Our product goes in the middle first, crisscross, walk it up, and then pull it through the ends if needed. So this mannequin has a really small head. So normally on a real person, I would do a lot more than this. I'm going to show you where we're at right now. So her part is right here. So you can see how my foils come all the way to her part. There's not a gap here. If there were a gap here, she would have darkness right where she parts. So this mannequin has a pretty small head. On an actual person, I'd probably be doing a lot more before I got to this point. But now we're left with, if I put both sides together, we're left with this triangle on top, this triangle of hair right here. I am going to save this bit for later. So we're going to section this little triangle and get that out of our way. And now we're going to start in the back. So this is the back of her head here. And so we're just doing a partial, which means we're not going to go all the way down. But if she has layers, especially if she has short layers, we want to make sure that we don't stop our foil here and like her lightener end here, kind of like this one. You see how the lightener ends right here, but she's still got this hair down here. So now we've like created a line with her highlights. We don't want to do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to go down and find the longest piece. I'm going to pull that up. And I know that this hair has to have lightener on it to continue that line, to continue the length so we don't get choppy. So I'm going to pull that all the way up. That's going to tell me like how far down I need to go to make sure she gets coverage. And it's usually right under the occipital bone, which for her it is. So I know I've got to foil down at least that far. So from this point, this is going to be my point. I'm going to make an upside down triangle that goes from that point to the foils on this side. So now I have from this foil here down to the point that I made back here. And we're going to do the exact same thing on the other side. So I already have my point. We're going to start at the end of this foil here. And we're going to go down to that point. That doesn't have to be in there. That's part of the front. So I've basically made, and I think I've got my point off. So now I've got this like inverted triangle. It's not super clean. So that's kind of what I'm working with. I want to foil all of this. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a slice from the foil. Her hair is pushing forward. This doesn't look super clean. We're going to take a foil right here. We want to make sure that we go up to these foils here so we don't have a dark gap here. So I'm going to make sure that I put my foil in here. I can actually pin this back. So here's that section, the diagonal back going to my point down here. I want to make sure that I start my foil up here because we don't want a dark gap here. So I'm going to start here. I'm going to foil this part right here. I'm going to weave that out. Start in the middle, walk up our lightener. And hold that up. So now we have this bit in between the front and working our way into the back. And I'm actually going to go ahead to the other side and I'm going to do the same thing. So here's this side. So again, we want to make sure that we connect this bit first. So I'm going to take a foil here and I'm going to make sure I go all the way to those foils that are in the front. And walk that up. Right, so now we have 2 foils in the back. So now I'm going to put another one right behind this one, or on top of it, I guess. And take another slice. Make this cleaner. Come through here, again, connecting that top section. Drop. And then after this one, I'm going to go back to the other side and I'm going to put another one right on top of the one on the other side. So we're going to spin her back around. All right. Now we're going to put one right on top of this one. And foil that up. Okay, so now we have 2 on each side at the edge of on the edges of our upside down triangle. This hair should be right here. So this is what it's looking like so far. These are a little bit further down, but her head's weird shape. So we've got this side and this side. So now we still kind of have this gap that we've got to work through. So now I'm going to start making my section. We're working towards horizontal, not quite, but it's not quite as diagonal back as the other one. So now we're taking this bit here. And this is going to close our circle. So this is what we have so far. That looks awful. So I'm going to add another foil on top of this one, just like we did with our other ones. So now we have filled in all the gaps and we've kind of completed our circle. And now we're going to be working on the top part of the head. So now I'm going to take the last bit of the back section, and here's our front triangle that we still had left. Kind of a bad section, but this is the front triangle that we had left from the front. I'm going to take all of this together into one section. So this is now going to be one section, and I'm going to tighten this so you can see what it looks like so far with all this hair out of the way. Whoops. So this is what it looks top view. Now we just have this bit. Here's her front. Get those out of her face. Here's the front. the back. So our V went down this way. We did our 2 at the top of the V, and then we connected it down here at the bottom. And now we've taken our front section and our back section and made them into one. So now if you can see, this foil and this foil are kind of diagonal from each other now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start pivoting, and we're going to take foil sections all the way from this foil, and we're going to go and we're going to meet at this foil here. So looking from the top of her head, I can see we're going to connect this foil to this foil just by going all the way across. You might have to pivot a little bit your section, just start pivoting it until you line up. So I'm not going to go quite at a diagonal to be perfect with this one. I'm going to pivot this end up a little bit to start getting a little bit more horizontal. Right, so that's our first section. I'm going to take this one, we're going to foil this out. Now, sometimes you'll see I don't always lock these, meaning I don't fold these in necessarily. I can start moving faster now, and I'm not as worried about them slipping because of the fact that they're sitting on top of the head. So I'll be able to work a little bit faster if I don't go through the effort of folding in the sides. So we're just going to push that down, and we're just going to keep going. Now I can think a lot less. I can see where I'm headed. So it's just slice and weave. I pretty much do the same foil pattern on everybody, give or take like their head shape. That's where things are going to change, whether their head's smaller, larger, wider, it just depends. But everybody's basically going to get the same placement. What I will change is what type of weave I'm doing. Am I doing thick weaves? Am I doing fine weaves? Am I doing slices? Am I doing highlights, lowlights? Am I going to root shadow it? That's kind of the things that come into play that change it. But the pattern for the most part is the same. So now I can move pretty fast. One thing about using the same placement or just having a few different placements is speed. Like not having to think about it so much allows you to move faster. And once you get your placement down and you're just changing minor things to change the outcome, you can go a lot faster. Also, putting all these foils, all these foils are on diagonals for the most part, even though I'm going horizontal right now. Her nose is here. Like this is her nose. Even though I'm working, it feels like I'm working horizontally, her nose is here. So all of these foils are actually going to fall diagonal on her, which is going to make it really blendy. All right, that was my last one, I think. So we're going to take a look at everything. There's her face. And this was the last one that I did. So you see how it's actually a diagonal when it comes to her part. So this finishes our partial foil placement. This is how you go from a mini foil to a partial foil. Sometimes I will start my partials in the front. That way I know that they're going to be the brightest. If I start my partial in the back, I will still do this same placement. But now I'm going to kind of show you just all the way around what she looks like. So here's the front. There's our mini. And then we put in more diagonal foils off of her mini here. So these foils in here. And then on the other side, we did the same thing. We added in these foils to her mini. And then we came to the back. We made a inverted triangle. We foiled these two at the top parts of her triangle. We foiled the center to close off that circle. And then we just started working in, then we connected this front foil to this back foil by just going by slicing and weaving all the way through. And so this is the end result. This is what it looks like from the top, almost like a pinwheel. All right. So the next thing for you to do is to practice this placement on a mannequin. Then we will have a class where you'll bring in a guest and we can work side by side and do it together.